Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Brad, and on this episode of Trail Recon, I finally got around to installing the Smittybilt XRC bumper and tire carrier on our 99 XJ. And today on this video, I'm gonna give you my opinion, kind of the good and some of the criticism I have about this bumper. I'm gonna show you how the install went and some of the challenges that we had. And then you're gonna wanna stick around to the end of the video where I'm gonna bring you up to speed on where we're at on the budget on this build. Now, if you've been following the channel for a while, you'll know that we have been working hard on this 99 XJ, transforming it into an overland rig. My teenage twins have been helping me the whole time, and it's just been a great father-son project. But they recently graduated high school, and one went off to college, and the other one is in boot camp as we speak. So they're not home every day to do this, so I kind of had to do most of this by myself. I got my oldest son to help me out a little bit, and he's going to help me out a little more here as we go. And I'm really looking forward to them coming home from time to time so that we can do some more project builds on this. But I'm just going to keep chugging away at this. We're going to get this project done, guys. I'm really excited about it. Now, why did I choose the Smittybilt XRC bumper? Well, it's the same bumper that we chose on the front, and I really like it. It's 3/16 steel. It's rock solid. It's definitely got some weight to it. It's got a nice textured finish to it. It's got a place for a jerry can. It's got a place where you can mount a high lift jack right behind the tire. It comes with all those accessories. It's got a trailer hitch, which is a class 3 trailer hitch, and it's got some great recovery points. And I really just like the look of it. So it's a great bumper. All right, let me show you how the install went. And just like anything on this XJ, it didn't go perfect, but watch this, guys. This 28-year-old Jeep has no shortage of rusty bolts, so breaking out the PB blaster and letting them soak is standard operating procedure on this project. I don't know if you can see it. So this bolt right here, we've got to take off, and then there's one way up there where the light's shining that we got to take off, and that should get us the bumper off. And then we just take off this plastic piece. So see if we can get that off, and then we'll tackle the trailer hitch. Getting access to these bumper bolts is a very tight fit. So removing these rusty nuts took the use of a breaker bar and some creative leverage using my socket wrench. I'm sure there's an easier way. This is just what worked out for me. All right, now that we've got the bumper off, I can access these 4 bolts holding the bumper bracket on. And once I take this bumper bracket off, then I can put a wrench up here on top of these bolts that are holding the trailer hitch on. If you don't have a trailer hitch, you don't have to go through all this work. This is just a bunch of extra nonsense, but this is the best way to do it for me, I think. There was no easy way to remove these trailer hitch bolts. No amount of PB blaster was going to break through the rust and loosen them up. I tried with a breaker bar, but even that wasn't successful, and I think I actually snapped like 2 bolts in the process. I ended up getting out the cutting wheel and the Sawzall, which I was really hoping not to have to do, but sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. I think I made a little bit of a mess here. It's just amazing how much work it is to remove an old rusty trailer hitch. Man, I'm glad it's off. All right, I'm getting ready to mount the brackets for the bumper. And I just want to point out that one of these is a passenger and one of these is a driver's side. The one on the left here is the driver's side, and the one on the right is the passenger side. And so both of these, the internal bracket and the external bracket, you need to make sure that you match them up. You can see here that those bolts will line up with the holes. It won't line up with this one. So just make sure you're using the right bracket for the right mount. You want to first slide the frame mount bracket into the body and then put the bumper mount into place and hand tighten all the bolts. Don't start torquing anything down just yet. On the passenger side, when you remove the trailer hitch, you also have to remove The fuel tank exhaust heat shield and the exhaust hanger, make sure you remember to put those in place before you start screwing in the new bumper mount bolts. With both bumper mounts loosely in place, take a measurement. The directions say the distance between them should be slightly less than 34 inches. You need to ensure there is enough room so the brackets on the bumper will slide into place. Once you have everything lined up, you can go ahead and tighten down everything. There is a chart in the directions that will give you all the torque specs for each of the bolts. You can see in the bumper mount holes that there's actually a good amount of adjustment for the bolt, but on the bumper the nuts are welded on, so this actually limits the amount of wiggle room you have. I think lining things up would have been a lot easier if those were not welded on. My son and I spent a good amount of time trying to line things up. I actually ended up resorting to breaking out the jack and getting a block of wood, and this actually helped quite a bit. Once you have all the bumper bolts in place, you want to keep them loose because you want to spend a good amount of time just leveling things out and lining up the body lines just as much as you can. All right, we are on the home stretch. We've got two big things left to do, and hopefully these will go pretty easy. One, we've got to get the tire carrier on here, put all the mounting accessories on there, and then mount the tire on there. And with all that weight on there, then we can kind of level everything out and dial it in. Hopefully that'll go pretty smooth, I'm hoping. And then we've got to mount these plates on the rear lower quarter panels, and these are going to give us a little extra protection and make that body line look kind of nice and fluid with the bumpers. We're going to have to drill some holes and get out the rivet gun, but this should be pretty easy, I'm hoping. I will say I'm pretty happy with how the bumper has turned out. It looks great. The body lines are almost perfect. They're not totally perfect. They're off just a little bit. I've got this leveled as much as I can. But I'm not sure that they're going to line up 100% like I'd like, but I'm very happy with how it looks now. Let's get started and get this finished. Before I put the tire carrier in place, I greased down all the areas where any contact was going to be made. And then I put one of the stainless steel washers in place. They give you 4 with the kit if you need to shim, but I only needed to use 1. With the tire carrier in place, I greased up the main hinge pin and slid it into place. Then you can place the cam wheel on top and insert the 6.5-inch bolt that slides through the pin. And it comes with this nice little nut with a handle on it to make things holding up underneath much easier. Just don't torque anything down just yet. Without the weight of the tire, I just made some minor adjustments to the cam wheel to get the hinge to line up. I'll be doing this again once we get the weight of the wheel on there. All right, before we can mount this tire bracket onto the tire carrier, we got to kind of estimate where this should go in relation to how deep the tire is. And you can see here there's about 4 holes that allow us to adjust in or out. And so all we're going to do is just kind of eyeball this here. Go from there. And kind of get an idea of where that tire will lay. And I think we can do it probably on this second hole here. But we may have to go this one. These are 11.5-inch tire, but if they were a 12.5-inch, we would probably have to go way out. But let's see how it goes. One quick thing before I mount the brackets, I needed to bust out a hammer and drive in all the lug nut bolts. And there is nothing in the instructions on where to mount your bracket for your certain tire size, so I just took some rough measurements and made some estimates. With the bracket on and everything torqued down, we're ready to throw the tire on there. And I'm actually pretty happy with where the tire sits and how it all lined up. Now with the weight of the tire on the carrier, I was able to make some final adjustments to the cam wheel to get the latch to line up just perfectly. Just note that small adjustments to the cam wheel make big changes. Oh, and on a recommendation I received on Instagram from someone who has this tire carrier, they recommend using a little bit of blue Loctite just to keep the cam bolt in place. And the last thing to do was to insert the Zert fitting for greasing up the hinge, which is a really nice little feature. Now moving on to the side plates, I first needed to remove the mount that held the plastic piece on. All you gotta do is drill out the pop rivets on there. And then I gave her a good wipe down and cleaning and got out some rust stop paint and painted over all that bare metal. And in the directions, they recommend to lay a bead of sealant inside the plate to keep out any moisture. Lining up the plate and making sure you got it spot on where you want it. Use some clamps to kind of secure it down before you start your drilling. With the plate in place, you can use it as a template for drilling your holes. And oh, this is why I don't like buying cheap drill bits. One of these days, I'm really going to learn my lesson and quit going cheap. Once all your holes are drilled, you can break out the pop rivet gun. But you know what? With all the tools in my garage, a pop rivet gun just wasn't one of them. So I had to run down to my local store and pick one up. Thankfully, they're only about 20 bucks. So I'm glad that install is over, because pulling that trailer hitch off and those rusty bolts, man, was a challenge. But actually installing the bumper went pretty smooth and it was pretty straightforward. The directions were good. I wouldn't say they were great. I'm gonna do some additional adjustments just to get those body lines to match up perfectly, but I'm very happy with how it fits and the way it looks, and I'm just thankful to have that tire out of the back of the Jeep now. So let's talk a little bit about the things I like. I like the way it looks. I like how sturdy it is. I don't like that the gate doesn't have a lock. So if I swing the gate open, there's no way to lock that pin. And so if I'm on a hill or something, that gate's gonna close. That worries me a little bit, but it's pretty smooth, it latches solid, and it doesn't rattle when I'm going down the trail, which is very nice. And I did lose just a little bit of visibility out the rear window. You can adjust the tire up and down to make that determination, but you know, I wanna make sure that I'm not losing any departure angle. So you gotta kind of balance between visibility and departure angle. I think that's gonna be perfect where it's at, but we'll see. Now let me bring you up to speed on where we are at on the budget. And this budget includes the purchase of the vehicle and everything we've done to this point. And we are at $8,483. The bumper and tire carrier setup is $749, which brings our grand total to $9,232. So the price is climbing, but man, I'm very happy with where we're at. It's a great rig so far. And look, if you go over to Northridge 4x4 and you use the code TRAILRECON on this bumper and tire carrier setup and a lot of their other stuff, you can get some pretty big discounts, guys. We're very thankful to have a partnership with Northridge 4x4 and all the support they provide for the channel. And hey, if you'd like to support what we're doing here, visit my Patreon page and you can get some behind the scenes action and some extra perks about Trail Recon. We really appreciate that. And if you're visiting the channel for the first time, man, hit that subscribe button. We'd love to have you as a member of the Trail Recon team. Thanks for watching, guys.